On the eve of tonight's European fixtures, Simon, UEFA officially confirmed their new Champions League format. You're going to love this. It starts next season, and I don't think a lot of people have got their heads around this, because the Champions League format is going to change, and change more than just a little bit. The Champions League final stays between two clubs, so we know it's going to be them against them. All 36 sides will be ranked in one single league table. 3 points for a win, we get that.
Yes.
1 for a draw, none for a defeat. We get that. The top 8 in the table will go straight into the knockout stages, while those from 9th to 24th will compete in a two-legged playoff to join them in the last 16. I'll simplify it. More teams means more money for UEFA. End of.
Sure. But what it means is that if you want to win the Champions League, you've got to win 17 games rather than 13. That's what it means, ostensibly. And that at the beginning of the tournament, rather than playing 6 games in the group stages that you currently have, you now have 8. So everybody, it's more money, and more money for the teams in it.
So is this going to be the change that we never knew we needed?
Well, they've obviously come up with an idea that they need to change the format to incorporate the idea that they need more games. And the reason why they need more games is because they want to generate more revenue. And as a result of generating more revenue, the clubs that are in the Champions League get more money. And subsequently, the coefficients that provide support for the leagues get more money, because the European competitions distribute more money into the pyramids. So everybody gets more money. It's all about money. It's always been about money. It'll always be about money. And the more money there is, the more money there'll be need to be made.
It's about money then.
It's about money.
Yeah.
And we'll just adapt to it in the same way that the Champions League, which is laughable, which should be had up under the Trade Descriptions Act, because it doesn't feature most of the teams in it being champions. So it's already been compromised from the days when Graham Souness and whoever else lifted the Champions League, or Emlyn Hughes, or whoever.
When champions were champions.
When champions were champions. So we've adapted to that change. We've accepted that. That's been priced into our thinking. So we'll accept this. And the argument then will become, we're playing more games.
I mean,
right.
Do you think, had it become unexciting to a degree? Do you think the group stage of the Champions League in the format we've just witnessed, has that become a bit boring and predictable? I mean, they're tweaking it to let more in.
There are dead rubbers in there.
Yeah.
And obviously in these games, you've got more opportunity for there to be less dead rubbers, which means there's more commercial jeopardy in it, which means there's more opportunities to monetise it through the sponsors and through the broadcast deals that they can do. I don't know if this will work. I don't know how appealing it will be until we see it manifest itself in front of us. Is it broken? Well, I would suggest possibly not. Could it be improved? Can things be improved? Yes. Is this an improvement? Well, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. But the concept is that there's more games. So that means that every side is going to get one more home game. So every side's going to get the attendances for one more home game, plus the distribution from the broadcast rights. But in essence, if you're to win this Champions League, it was 13 games to get you about 110 million quid. So you got almost as much for playing. You play 38 games in the Premier League to get 170 million quid. You get 13 games to win the Champions League for about 110 million quid. So if you multiplied that up, and took it to 38 games in the Champions League competition, to be getting £250 million a season. That's where it's headed, potentially.
Right.
Now they've moved it up to 17 games. So it's now 30% more games, circa, to win the Champions League.
Right. So, I mean, is this UEFA's version of the Super League?
No, I don't think so. I think we're moving in a direction where you're seeing more revenue streams being available to the Champions League. So they're looking at it going, look at what we're paying, look at what we're achieving. We play this amount of games and we can generate this amount of revenue. And the domestic leagues play 3 times this amount of games and generate not that much more than we do. So how do we continue to evolve to the next level of commerciality? And this is what this is.
I mean, UEFA say it's about sporting merit. Is it?
Well, that might form part of it, because if we get more jeopardy into the competition, if the argument is that there's a part of it is that you don't have so many dead rubbers and you have more competitivity, and that argument will be borne out by the nature of how the tournament proceeds in front of us, then of course it will be a component part. But it's about monetisation. But you don't have one without the other, because if you don't have sporting jeopardy and you don't have sporting merits, then you don't have commercial value. So they will go hand in glove to some extent. So whilst I don't think it's a stepping towards the European Super League. I think it's a recognition that because of the nature of the branding and creation of value in the Champions League and the European competitions, that what do they do? What do we do? We make more games. What does games give us? More money, more commercial revenues.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.